Wrap it up wrap it up in a big bow, put a big bow on it. So this is interesting. So we've got Jan and Art and Jackie and Michael and Jessica. Who else is there? Is that it? And me, I guess,
You, yeah.
since Wes isn't here. I'll improvise and pretend I'm Wes. I don't know if I can do the accent, though. I've never been that good with accents, unless it's country. I can do country, because I lived in Nashville for 7 years, so, you know, or worked out of Nashville for 7 years, so there you go. So,
Art suggested that we not, didn't you say don't take on the accent? Was that in your, who said
Yeah,
that?
that was one of the recommendations that was made.
Yeah, well, I can't live anywhere without getting the accent.
Well,
me
you know,
too.
if you just naturally kind of get a little bit, but if you just try to say, okay, I want to be
Oh,
German,
okay.
well, we will understand this what they are doing.
Yeah.
Don't do that, because it just makes everybody mad.
Yeah, if you sound
Yeah.
like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
I never saw it, so I don't get the joke.
Oh
Well,
my
people in
God, you did a
England say
British
that it's the
accent.
worst. People in England say that it's the worst British accent they've ever heard.
Oh, okay.
I actually thought it was delightful as a kid because I didn't know.
Yeah.
You didn't know any better, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I like Sean Connery's accent. You got me thinking about him now.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
I've got a great picture of him that I keep in here.
Patty, I was wondering if I could start this
Yes.
portion, because I made a list of some things that they're short that I wanted to say but didn't. You know how that happens,
Wonderful,
right?
wonderful.
Hindsight.
Please do.
Okay, so first of all, I really have to say how much gratitude I have for my uncle for teaching the family and sharing and being there for me and helping me through a really, really interesting time, because I came out on the other end. I've been writing a book about it for a long time, but I just have to tell you that David Seeger's ideas were just amazing. There's so much more that he taught the family. When you think about working on grooves, go back to the first incident. You don't have to relive it a lot, but just, you know, that first time, because with my daughter, it wasn't just this time, it was like that, back to that first instance. So that's just because, you know, it's deep in there. If you work with children, Art, did you say you sometimes work with children?
Well, a lot, yes.
Oh, well, my daughter was one of the easiest things to do. She had mosquito bites, and I had just learned to do this, and she was laying there, and I said, just think about those itchy red spots and just look right up here. And I tapped on her head, and she didn't scratch again. And then when she was doing her 4th grade social studies, Mom, I can't find the answer to this question. You all know that, right? If you've been around kids, I can't find the answer in the chapter. I said, would you just please roll your eyes? Just look up here. She goes, it never works. It never works. I said, I don't care if it works or not. Just roll your eyes. And she was done with her homework before. But I don't talk about it with, I didn't say, well, look, didn't you see it worked? I just would do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
And also with children, I was going to do a workshop with kids down the street at the church preschool. So I bought these really cool little tiny wands. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, there we go.
Cute.
And I was going to have the teachers, you know, when kids get into that state where you can't get them out, just say, you know, watch this magic star and keep your chin down. Don't roll your chin. It's just your eyes, you know, so anyways, thought I would share that.
Nice.
That's nice.
And when you're working with your clients, if you so choose to have them do this, then when they're in trance, remind them that they now have, just like any other tools you have, you know, you remind them, you've got this, how easy it's going to be to just roll your eyes when something's bothering you, or when that comes up again, or when, you know. And the death groove, I didn't explain why he chose the word death. And I think I better. The reason Uncle David said death is because he had read that our cells are constantly dying and being replenished. And so to take care of those cells that are dying so that the new ones come in and replenish quickly or easily was his concept. And that's why we erase the word death in order to keep your skin young and et cetera, and your guts working. But when I was diagnosed with cancer, he had me erase dying, died, and dead. And that was on I did erasing, I did zapping 3 times a day like medicine. And so I got those ideas right out of my head. There is a time when I don't want you to roll your eyes, and it's during sex. Smile or hum, because it just numbs out your body and you don't want to be numb.
Oh my God.
No screaming, huh?
Yes,
Wow.
hum and smile, because boy, what a difference. Okay. And rolling your eyes is easy when I tell people go, but that's so easy. But the challenge is naming the grooves. And that's the skill that you would develop as you work with yourself and with your clients. And I want to tell you that ear massage has given me so much saliva. I can't believe it. So if you're working with someone who's got dry mouth or those kind of issues, get them to activate the vagus.
Wow.
So besides having 2-foot-long poops, what am I saying? You know, life is life. I'm all for it. Okay.
TMI.
All right.
I was trying to find in this book, I don't know if any of you are familiar with this, or nice light reading here, Unfolding Meaning by David Bohm. It's
Nice. Yeah.
it's heavy duty stuff. I was going through this trying to get some ideas last night. So like I said, some nice light reading. It talks, I can't find the section now, but it talks about grooves. And it fit perfectly with what you were talking about. And it's from a physics, level. But he gets into, in this book, he talks about the metaphysics, the more spiritual side of things in relation to the universe and physics. Oh my God, I wish I could find it, because there was a paragraph I was going to read, and I guess I had too many marks that I can't find which one it was now.
Well, my uncle saw that study where those indentations through repetition and then through shock. You all know 12 times 12, right? From what? Repetition. Do you know 12 times 16? No, but you do know how to solve it. And so our clients have all this stuff that they have just put in. So anyways, I'll wait if there are any questions.
Cool. So you're carrying on the legacy of your uncle and bringing it to you're writing a book, you said, that's going to incorporate.
I've been writing a book, and then I'm writing I'm writing my story, because it was an incredible healing story, healing journey, the angel's gift, because he truly is my angel. And now he is a real angel.
Yeah.
And a workbook, it's like a life enrichment book with all the areas of your life where you can go in, because I want to live in that happy, positive brain. That's where I want to be.
Yeah.
Well, just some information for you, for Jan, for you particularly. There is something called the Bristol stool form scale, if you want to look that up. And if you're trying to talk to your doctor and if they say, well, describe your poop, there are 6 different types that are listed on the Bristol stool form scale. And there's actually a picture of it, and you can print it and take it in and say, it's like this and not like that, so that gives you a scientific basis for doing that, and not just sort of making it up as you go along. So one of the things that I do, I don't know if you all are Harry Potter fans. I am not, but I've had some people tell me about it. And one of the things that Harry did whenever there was are some of you familiar with Harry Potter? Have you read the series? There was something when horrible creatures would come, and they taught him how to just point at it and say ridiculous, and it would poof and it would disappear or something. So I found, I don't remember where it was. It was a collapsible white plastic wand, and it had a green foam rubber finger on the end of it, a hand or the finger pointing at it. And so when these kids who know Harry Potter, and they come in, they say, oh, I'm scared of so and so and so and so, and I say, here's what you do, and I just uncollapse that thing and say, point at it and say ridiculous, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. And they go and they say, oh, let me hold that, and they ridiculous about everything in my office after that, but it's wonderful when you can connect with something that the kids know about and help them use that as a tool that they can put in their kit, you know, to help them overcome some difficulties. That was one that really works well.
Very cool. Very cool. So,
John, Patty,
yes, okay.
I wanted to say to John that as soon as we finished yesterday's session, I saw on my iPhone breaking news, a pivotal scientific study where the scientists have transferred poop out of old mice into new mice, no, vice versa, young mice into old mice with dramatic biomedical results. And I just thought of your presentation yesterday about the vagus nerve and everything you talked about yesterday.
Yep, that's the direction it's going. They haven't done it with humans yet, but
No, and the gut microbiome is a very active area of research in biomedicine.
yes, for inflammation, there's the names of the cells and the protein and all that. That's why I don't go there, because I can't explain it. But the gut health, I mean, that really is important for anti-aging.
Yeah.
There are
Thank you.
doctors now that are doing fecal transplants, and there's a name for it. I don't know what it is. I can't remember it. But they have a group of apparently very teenage, very health conscious kids that are vegetarian and all this stuff, and they are stool contributors, I guess, donors, yeah. And you have to be very well researched and, you know, checked out in a lab, and they're using it. They've found some fantastic results from it. That it really.
Wait, Art, are you serious? There's human studies as well?
They've been doing it for a long time yet, or a few years.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it's the name of the procedure, but it is a fecal transplant. That they actually take the poop and then they blow it up.
He's not saying people, right?
No,
I heard people.
People, yes, people.
The F, fecal.
Yeah.
Fecal.
Fecal transplant, yeah, and
It
they
sounded like
get
people.
they get the poop from the donors, and then they put it into the large intestine, I guess, of the person who needs to have their gut repopulated with healthy bacteria.
Yeah.
And apparently having some fantastic results from it, that it really really can work for some people.
All right, new topic.
This is a whole area I didn't expect to be educated on this weekend.
Yeah, we
I'm
branch
wondering
off
if we're
into
going to
all
have
kind of
we could have a.
It is interesting though, yeah.
well, this is opportunistic, you know, it just we take advantage.
That's right.
Somebody might want to put together a specialty certification course. on
Right.
Poop degree.
Poop degree.
Interesting.
Well, I will pull us off of this shitty topic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
So I guess one thing I want to just add back on to the end of mine would be when you start working with grief, especially with people, like loss of a loved one, not so much with animals, but it can happen. And I'm talking about death, not like job transfer things. Be ready for some really cool spiritual experiences that blow your mind. Because you'll receive messages from the other side in just in ways you can't comprehend. Like you can't prove it, but these coincidences start to happen to you, and just enjoy them. You'll get those little tokens. I think I mentioned the little army man. That's the most special thing about this is then you really feel like you're working beyond. And you're really working, I believe all hypnosis really is spiritual work. The more I do this work, the more I'm like, we're doing soul work. We're doing the work that pastors should be doing. It's really humbling for me each and every time. And if I go off my topic a little bit about and go on to Patty's topic of shifting the paradigm of hypnosis, for me personally, it's a passion. I'm alive here today because of hypnosis. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mentor, Ruth, at the age of 13. And I really wouldn't. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So one of my things I've been doing to change and just put the word out there about what hypnosis does is any charity event. So like golf events, I pay the money, I set up at a golf hole, and you're guaranteed to work with 100 or some people. And you get maybe 10 or 15 minutes to work with a group of people, or career fairs. Like go out there and set up at a career fair at a college. The psychology professor, if he knows that a hypnotist is going to be there, he tells his students to go find the hypnotist and talk to the hypnotist. There's an opportunity now I have through the Chamber of Commerce where I get to go into middle schools and talk to 8th graders about getting ready for their careers, why they need to get their education and not drop out of school, and tell my story of, you know, how, yeah, I was the high school dropout in my struggles. And, but you can weave hypnosis into all of this. And it plants those seeds in people that would never, ever call you. And then suddenly one day after doing a few of these, people remember, oh yeah, the weird hypnotist was on the golf course and I shot a better game after that. And they'll come out of the woodwork and they will respect you and what you do at a whole different because right now I have other professionals, because I've been doing those things in different arenas where they don't expect hypnosis to show up.
Wow.
And they're really curious about, how can I use this? Or how can it help me with my problem? It makes it more accessible and less woo-woo for people.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first moved,
a referral from a golfer though, once they find out it
Yeah.
works, not gonna tell
That's the only
anybody
thing.
else about it.
when I first came to Florida, I didn't know anybody, and I joined the chamber and I became an ambassador. And for the first 7 or 8 years I was here, I was doing all the golf tournaments. I don't play golf, but I would donate, you know, baskets, and I'd donate the bags, the goodie bags they walk around all day with my company on it. And I did just what you said. I'd have little stations set up at the hole or something. And it really did, you know, and if you're involved with the Chamber of Commerce and those or networking groups in your community, you surprise people. I know Jan used to be really involved with BNI, which is a different kind of networking group that, you know, she went there. And I know you got, when you first started in the office on Eastlake,
Right.
you had lots of referrals that you were seeing people more than I was, I think, at that point. So any way that you can get it out there. And, you know, when it's opportunities, I always said, if somebody says something funny to you at a networking group, you know, because I always wear my badge that says hypnotherapist. I do that on purpose. Now, you're going to make me quit smoking? And I say, why, do you want to? And they say, well, I've been trying to quit for 10 years. And I say, well, you know, sounds like you're already hypnotized to me, you know, you know, because they say, I don't want you to control my mind. I said, doesn't sound like you're in control right now. How about you come to me and we get your mind to hear what you actually want it to do, you know, but it gives you an opportunity to tell people, you know, they just don't understand it. That's our opportunity. And that's what this weekend's all about, right? Turning a challenge into an opportunity, getting creative.
I want you, in light of the topic here, whenever you can, if you'll take 2 dimes and just put them down on a table next to each other, and put a finger on each dime and then just slide them over.
Into
And
second
what that
gear.
is a paradigm shift.
Yeah, into second gear, Art.
Yeah, into second gear. That's a paradigm shift, and the problem, that's because a joke that people don't know what they look like. But the problem with them, when they've looked at what is really going on, is when you're in the middle of a paradigm shift, nobody knows that it's happening. It's only after the fact when you look back. And I have actually a slide that I use to show where high jumpers, and it started off, they do the scissors, and then they do some kind of a backflip, and then they do the roll, and then they do this Fosbury flop, you know, the last one. I haven't seen what happened later, but it shows how incrementally a year by year people get better and better and better at the old paradigm, but then they peak out, you know, and then another paradigm will come along, and it's a quantum jump from there, and then they improve up and up and up from that, and then they use all that up, and then another paradigm will come along. but it's not until somebody says, I think there's a different way to do this that will incrementally jump me above where we are right now. And that is the new way you do it. And nobody would think about going back and trying to do a scissors anymore, kind of like the people were doing with the hurdles, you know, you just jump over one leg and then the other. You can't get much out of that. And so that backflip really turned out to be fabulous, where you just run up to the bar, turn around backwards, and then leap over head first backwards.
Wow.
That was a huge improvement. And then so
Yeah.
the paradigms are just a break with the traditional way of doing something, and it causes a leap in results that you couldn't get out of the old paradigm. So interesting stuff.
Art, that's a great thing. Actually, I use it for a lot of things like fear of flying. I have them leave their house, go get on the plane, and they fly wherever they are. And after they get off the plane, they're so calm. And then I have them run it backwards so that when they get back to where they are, they're calm. And then I have them run it through again, like they're actually going on the plane. So I use it for a lot of things like sports performance, to your point, right? But also I just wanted to throw something in here about the neural pathways, and I'm still trying to, you know, I'd appreciate you guys, you know, helping me with this, if you would. A couple of years, no, it's been actually 4 years ago, they discovered that our brain can actually build neural pathways on 11 dimensions. This is the third. So we have the ability to go up to 11. And my sense is that these people who are psychic mediums or whatever, I just think they're working on like the 7th, 8th, 9th dimension, and their brains are already capable of doing that. You know, they're already wired in. So I always set the intention, like, I wonder how far it can go. And they say the higher you go in a system, the more you change. So like if you get up to that 11th dimension, it's just going to filter down through all those other dimensions.
Can I share something with you? I had a client. Sorry, I asked and then I just didn't even wait for an answer. I'm gonna share something with you all. So there you go. I had a client who came originally because she was suffering from depression. She had literally just gotten out of the hospital. We had made a connection before that, so we went in and we did parts therapy. And what she found out, of course, is that she was an empath, and so she was absorbing way too much of everybody's negativity, and that's why she could never get out of bed in the morning. She was crying all the time, and she remembers being a toddler and this being her entire livelihood. And then she proceeded to, when we were in trance, to talk about, you know, her parents were 17 and I think 15 when they had her. They had their addiction issues, etc. Everybody's fine now, but it was a horrible experience for her, having to call her dad to come home from the bar because mom was packing her clothes, and she was 3.5 doing this.
Wow.
So she remembers all of this, and then we did regression, and we went back to in the womb and what is your life's purpose. And she has 3 children, 2 of whom have autism and 1 who has ADHD and Tourette's. And so what came through in terms of her soul's purpose was she needed to be the parent or parentify her parents as a youngster, because she was going to be gifted to have these 3 beautiful young sons who would need her experience all throughout her life because they were coming to her from another planet. To your point, Susan, in terms of, you know, like if we are going into these things with no judgment, then we better really understand what no judgment means, because like that's, I believed her, you know, that was her soul talking, you know, in terms of absolutely, you know.
Well, yeah.
All right. Michael, you've been wanting to say something for a while.
Yeah, I have been, and everybody keeps giving me more stuff for it. So it's great. I love it. But first of all, it's somewhere along the line, somebody made mention to the fact that this is like energy work. I think, or something very like that. I keep reminding, and this hadn't occurred to me until only about a year or 2 years ago. But then I realized if we look at the history of hypnosis, modern hypnosis, at least typically, presentations of modern hypnosis typically start with this Mesmer fellow that we've heard of. You know, Mesmer was doing Reiki quite honestly, if you look at what Mesmer actually did with people, it looks a whole lot more like energy medicine than it looks like what we call hypnosis today. So certainly that's kind of in the roots of what it is that we're up to. And honestly, I think that it's all energy, you know, the
Yeah,
way that you transmit
is.
it, whether it's through
Yep.
touch or hands or words, or maybe even simply through energetic intent. That's, you know, that certainly is an important part of what it is that we do,
Yeah.
and I think makes the difference between people who really do well with this and who really sort of struggle because they're trying to do it without that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you need to get your spirit into the work that
Yeah.
makes a real difference.
Yeah.
The other part of it is that I noticed, and Jackie, you set me on a meditation. I love that you did it. On one of your slides, I saw the phrase about open to suggestion. And I thought, depending on who this particular client is, if they see this, it's going to be like, oh my God, something Patty referred to a minute ago as people having the idea that you can control my mind. And so I really think in the new paradigm, one of the things that we need to make sure that our clients understand is that being open to suggestion. By the way, the word is suggestion. Listen, everybody, it's English. You know, being open to suggestion means that you're available and willing to consider some possibilities and to choose the ones that are right for you.
Right.
Not that you're bound to do, because the hypnotist accidentally said the wrong word. I wanted to stop smoking, but now I'm getting skinny. You know, that really isn't how it works. You know, that there are suggestions offered to the unconscious, and it can, from those suggestions, like we always do with suggestions, it can make some choice, some educated choice from the inside about what's going to be good for it. So it really is not about taking control away from our clients, but in fact is about giving them more control, as Patty said a minute ago. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and it's kind of a wrap on what I was talking about earlier, I wish that I had said this, and it seems really appropriate to say now when we're talking about new paradigms. I'm absolutely convinced. By the way, I'm just going to keep on the theme of the weekend. I'm absolutely convinced that we're all full of poop. You know, and some poop is better than others. You know, that in the long run, we have created out of this mysterious energetic work that we do a whole bunch of metaphors to describe it and to explain how it works. You know, and so Jackie, for instance, I heard her say when she was talking that she is prone to do parts work with people. Somebody else will say, oh no, we're supposed to do regression to cause. Somebody else will say you have to do the submodalities. I don't know if you have to do any particular thing. I really have come to believe, and I used to be in this really righteous stance about, you know, there's a right way to do this. I think the right way to do this is to allow for all of those possibilities.
Yes.
You know, that I don't, and I think that what struck home for me about this is somebody told me that something that I had done very successful with a client was wrong. And I'm like, well, but what's the point? You know, that I'm going to have to go tell my client, you know, you better start smoking again or something because I
did it wrong.
I did it wrong.
So I want to call upon Saint Robert Anton Wilson. Some of you might know who he is. He was a friend of Richard Bandler's later, and kind of famous for counterculture. There was a thing called the Church of Bob. That was actually a reference to Robert Anton Wilson. He's written some really groovy books and stuff. He's now no longer with us, but an interesting guy, an interesting thinker.
Wait, Michael, Jackie has to leave.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be interruptive. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Talk
Bye.
later.
Yeah.
Bye, Jackie. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks. Bye, Jen. Thank
So Robert Anton Wilson had suggested when physicists were coming into real challenge with communicating with one another, you will remember that there was a time when somebody said energy is waves. Somebody else said energy is particles. They started fighting and scrapping with each other, just like Elmanians and Ericksonians. And and then somebody tried to resolve it by saying, well, no, actually they're wavicles. You know, and it was a mess for a while. Robert Anton Wilson proposed what he called E prime. It was an approach to language and communication and technology. And the idea was we're going to eliminate the verb to be and to replace it with seems, appears, etc. So in other words, we could say that energy appears to be expressed as particles. And somebody else could say, well, actually, you know, it seems, you know, from my vantage point this way, like the blind man and the elephant, being able to all of us relate our own, how it seems to us without the stronghold that says this is the right way, this is the one thing. Whatever works, man, works. And so for me, it still becomes about loving my client and energetically doing what occurs to me in the moment to do, that's really going to make the difference. As far as shifting the paradigm, I think we want to be careful not to define it in a way that says, now we know what it is. But in fact, to be able to figure out how to discover how vast the paradigm is.
Absolutely.
Contribute more to it.
To me, go ahead.
If we're to believe quantum physics, which says that, you know, we're all made out of energy, and the closer you get to someone, some energy source, another person, the more entangled you become, and with your energies become more entangled. And maybe that's exactly what's really causing the results. And all we're just jumping around doing our, what you have a word for it, either the hoobie jooby or something like that, Michael.
Yeah.
And that's not anything at all. It's just the energy entanglement that our intention is opportunistic for someone who's having a problem, and then their energy says, oh, I like that vibration better, I'll use that one. And you know, maybe that's what's really going on. Your
vibe attracts your tribe.
So I think that that's part of the shift that's happening in the last 20 years or so, is science is becoming, you know, the physics and people in mechanics, engineering, and all these different fields are starting to get into talking about spiritual things. And you know what, that might not be the term they use, but they're realizing there is an intelligence and intention and intelligence, and that commingling of different forces, whatever words they have for them, that is starting to, and that's what I love, that word cohesion, because there's the cohesiveness that particles attracting particles is what cohesive nature of our bodies and the universe. So it's about, like you said, being in the presence of something. And then the next part of it is that you have choice in repelling or attracting, like the cells that Bruce Lipton talks about. We can with our intention and our thought energy, can cause a cell to express itself or to inhibit that expression. And to me, the science is making what we do even more interesting, not in a contained way, but in a more exploratory way. And to me, that's exciting. More possibilities. That's what I love.
I think something Michael said is important about the non-judgment piece, because when we judge, right, we're boxing ourselves into a corner. So I keep a Russian boyfriend in my head. His name is Justin IPOV, IPOV. So I share that with clients who want it, and it means just an interesting point of view. So if you're dealing with somebody who's being difficult, you go, you know, that's an interesting point of view. But then I follow it up with, how does it get any better than that? What else is possible? And then I end it, because it says even in the Bible, ask and you shall receive. But what we do is we ask, and then this is how it's going to show up. And then God's going, well, since you've already, you know, I had something better in mind, but I'm out, and good luck for you, you know?
So it's really about ask and then shut up and listen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, you know, so yeah, so I just go around eye-popping, and I even do it to myself. Wow, Susan, that's an interesting point of view. You're having that point of view. How does it get any better than this? What else is possible? Because now you're in the observer mode. You step back and you realize you're not the thought. You're just kind of going, wow, you know, that's interesting.
One of the interesting things that's happened is that the quantum physicists have inadvertently proved the existence of God. And they said, well, how do they do that? And they said, well, supposedly there was a big bang. That's one of the current theories anyway, about how things started. And they said the Heisenberg principle says that if there's no human observer available, then something is just possibility, you know, just it's not a real event. And that's where they got this experiments that show that they shot a photon through a slit, and they knew where it was going to come out, and then they shot some more photons, and then instead of coming out where they thought it would as a particle hitting the one line, it had this whole distribution pattern, and then it was a wave. And what they found out was that the photon behaved the way you thought it was going to behave. So somehow it responds to your beliefs about it. And they said, well, if that's true, that it takes a human observer before something becomes reality, then before the Big Bang, there was no time, there was no space. And if there had not been an observer, the Big Bang could not have happened. Well, what do we know of that can exist outside of time and space? Has to be God, you know, was there always, you know, before any time or any space even existed. And without that external observer, it never could have even happened. So it's just kind of a weird thing how science is folding back on itself sometimes and proving things that they never intended to really be involved in at all.
Yeah, when they say God is the 0 point field,
Yeah,
it's a neutral field,
neutral field.
but we drop intentions into it and then it sets up a vibration.
Well, before the Big Bang, there was no time,
I know.
no space,
Nothing.
so it couldn't have become into existence even without an observer there to say, yes, now there's time, now there's space. So.
Yeah.
Well, when I was in school taking my astronomy class, they told me that the reason the Big Bang happened was because nothingness is extremely unstable. So there you go. And I went, what?
And I wonder how they know that.
Yeah.
Nothingness is extremely unstable.
I wonder how they know
That's
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Well,
an
every time I
interesting point of
start
view.
feeling like I'm just nothing, I get very unstable feeling.
right.
Ashley,
Michael,
you had something?
Oh, go
I
ahead.
did. Yes, I did. I just wanted to share kind of a personal little story about how I got even became involved in this work. You know, I was a complete mess when I first studied with some of you people, including Michael and Patty, and you guys were so accepting, and I'm so appreciative to that. You know, I'd been in an abusive relationship. I had a bad car accident. I became agoraphobic. I couldn't even leave my house. And, you know, all these things were happening. I was seeing a quote unquote licensed therapist, and I'm not saying anything bad about them. They do their own deal. But she told me, she's like, we're doing this whole neural pathway, and we're just reincorporating you having this negative thought process, this trauma over and over again. She's like, you need to do something different. You need to try some hypnosis. And I was like, okay. And it came to me shortly after seeing a couple of hypnotherapists at the time. And I don't know this is totally factual, but there's a Joni Mitchell song called Both Sides Now.
Yeah.
And my understanding of where it came from was she was leaving an abusive relationship, and she was flying out of Canada, leaving everything she knew. And she looked down on those clouds from the plane, and she said, this is both sides now. And this is just the beginning. And so that's always been something that I like to share with my clients. And that's it's one of my anchors. I teach NLP anchors to everybody, and I'm always both sides now. And it gives me goosebumps to think of that. So I think
Nice.
that so much change and shifts so much paradigms just by reframing where someone's at. So
Yeah. And that word God too, you know, it's a kind of a polluted term for some people. I grew up in a Lutheran school and church in a small town, and it was the most beautiful concept in the world until at age 12, I moved to the big city of St. Louis and went to public school. And all of a sudden they kind of obliterated and polluted it all. And when I moved to Florida, I got turned on accidentally to a lady on the radio. What used to be on Sunday mornings. She died about, I guess, 3 or 5 years ago or something. And for many years, I would get up and religiously listening to that show. Even when I would teach a class, I'd be able to hear an hour of it right before class started. I always had my earphones in listening. And her name was Michelle Longo O'Donnell, and she was raised Catholic. And then she became a critical care nurse. And her story was so interesting. And she was the first person in many decades that I heard starting to talk about God on the radio that actually intrigued me and drew me in. And she had a few books that I started buying, every book she wrote. And well, this is one of them. I couldn't find the other one right away, but it's called Of Monkeys and Dragons, Freedom from the Tyranny of Disease. And one of her books is called, and she could quote she could quote phrases from the Bible, right, left, and upside down. But she had a different interpretation based on what she had learned. She started the first, what she says was the first metabolic holistic clinic in Texas. And years before, when she first started it, she said she spent about 10 years in litigation from doctors trying to shut her down. She was having great results with people. And she said, fast forward years later, those doctors are her patients. There are people coming to her. But one of the books she wrote after I had moved here that I have somewhere in my closet is called The God That Man Created, the Greatest Cause of All Disease. And it is a great book. And this one is as well, Freedom from the Tyranny of Disease. But her way of looking at it, just, that term God, all of a sudden got back to what I grew up with. Love, pure love, and everything, what everything is. And for people who have that experience like I had that kind of messed up that word for me, it's nice to know that science and people like her, and there's, we find what will match up to what we understood it to be all along, and what we know as real truth, not a truth that some human taught us, but the truth that we know that resonates in every fiber of our being, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, all of it. And you can tell when it resonates when you hear the truth on every level. We've all had experiences like that, because I'm sure that's why we're here. I know that's why I ended up here. And it's like it shows up in the weirdest ways, and you go, I just know it's true. I don't need any proof. I don't know how I know, I just know. And that's what I think brings all of us together. We're forming this cohesive unit here this weekend so that we can now spread out and hopefully share. It's challenging to describe it, though. And as soon as you put a human name on it, now you're going to either maybe turn that person off or give that person the wrong impression. So communication is so visceral. It has to be in that energetic level, so that when you say a word, they know you mean it. Like she did when I first heard her say God. I understood right away. She meant the way I know God, that human term means and always meant to me as a child. And there it was that pure love and essence and that truth of who we are and how we really are connected. Sorry, I went off.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
So anyway.
Well, and kind of segues onto you, Patty. Like one thing I really have noticed more over after what we call this COVID thing, these past couple of years, people are searching. It caused people to physically stay in, so they had to mentally go within. And I've met so many people when my intake, I'm like, so what are your spiritual or religious beliefs? They're like, well, I was raised this and I was really staunchly this way until COVID. And now I have no idea who I am spiritually. And just to think of Jackie's little thing. I mean, we can do just that with a client and get them back in touch with their source. I mean, without our spirit, what are we but a lost, nothingness? But people are searching, and really, I believe we have the answers, because all we do is, well, we don't have the answers. They have the answers. We help them get to their answer.
Find them, yeah.
And I really think we as hypnotists, we're on the cutting edge of medicine. As we know it, I think it's changing, because there's doctors asking questions and saying, what I'm doing is not working. I'm giving you a poison that's going to make this cause in your body feel this way, but you're going to have these 8 other symptoms. Where hypnosis, generally, I tell people, sorry to bring up the subject, but I tell people the only side effects from hypnosis that I notice are your problem can disappear. You may poop or pee more than you've ever pooped or peed in your life, because you're
back to the theme.
You get rid of the mental shit, and you literally get rid of the physical shit. Goes back to Jan's too long 2-foot long poop. I have clients who come back and tell me that. I'm like, yay, we got to your issue, because now your body can talk to itself. It can function and get rid of this stuff. Like I tell them, we clean it out mentally, so then your body's going to follow suit and clean it out physically.
Talk about a release.
Yeah. Well, one of the questions that I ask all of my clients, I say, you know, there are 3 possible relationships that you could have with the universe you live in. And I'd like to give you those 3. Maybe you can think of another one, but generally 3. And if you would tell me which one you think you identify with more, that would help me to understand how to relate better. One of them is that is an antagonistic, universe hates me. It's out to get me. It's trying to sabotage everything I do, you know, and it's just me against the world kind of thing. And that's one position. Another one is the universe is totally neutral. It has no idea that I even exist. It doesn't care one way or the other. If I died tomorrow, it wouldn't make any difference. And it's just kind of, I'm immaterial in this gigantic big universe. And the third one is the universe is my servant, and all it needs to know very clearly is what do I want, you know, and it'll try its best to get it for me as quick as it can. And so which one do you think you identify with? And what their answer is really helps me a whole lot on how to relate better to them faster, because I kind of know their life position to begin with before we start working.
Yeah. Sometimes what I do is when, you know, it's said that a lot of times people can tell you what they don't want, but they have difficulty telling you what they do want. So one of the things I have them do is I have them put their hand on their forehead, and I'm like, so what is your intention? So thinking about that, and then have them put their hand on their heart. That's where your wants are. So I have them hold their heart and say, what is it that you want? And then have them hold their low belly. That's where the needs are. So, you know, on one of those levels, you're going to get from the client what it is that they do want, so you can move forward with that.
Yeah, that's great. I never heard that before.
Yeah, and if it's a more logical, you know, left brain kind of person, you can just ask them what's the opposite of that, because they're telling you what they don't want, or what how they don't want to feel, what they don't want to do or have, or
clarity.
And you can just say, well, what would be the opposite of that? You know, and that's a good way for a logical person to say, oh, I never thought of it like that. I don't, well, if you didn't have that, what would you have instead? You know?
Oh, can I, so just real quick, were you saying that, Patty? I heard a coach once, and she was coaching a group of women that were drug addicted or had lost their children or were homeless, and the church was getting them back on track. So she was going in one night a week to coach these women in a group, and she was having trouble because she felt so heavy, right? All of us, I think, here are empaths. So she was picking up on their energy and felt really heavy. So her belief was, it's disrespectful for me not to see their suffering. It's disrespectful for me not to honor their suffering. Right. And so, you know, we do that, Patty. It's like a turnaround to that. And so she was like, well, so what's the opposite of that? She said, it's respectful for me to honor their suffering. And
but honoring it and feeling it is different.
I know, but here was the turnaround to it. It's disrespectful for me not to see their power.
Oh,
there you go.
Nice.
Beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
Ooh, I love this. This is stimulating to me.
Oh God, this is like going deep.
Deep dive. By the way, I have a new series called Deep Dive, because this is what I'm craving this now. And you know,
Susan just said deep dive, Patty.
What's that? Oh, she did?
Just said.
Yeah, then you said it.
Oh, yeah, I started a series. Well, I mean, that phrase is out there everywhere, of course, but I started a deep dive into different, you know, things that we talk about as hypnotists to get people who are in the field that want to go deeper into these things. That's what we're doing here, I feel. And I'm craving this. I'm craving this. What's behind it? What's behind that? What's behind that? You know, it's so cool.
I know, Deb, when you said that, Patty, I mean, my first stood up. Like, it was like, I'm doing this thing, deep dive. And I'm like, oh my God, tell me more.
I'm doing it about every 2 or 3 months. It's a 3-hour thing for hypnotists.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Almost free, not quite. I got to pay the bills.
Yeah, well,
it's really been stimulating. I've only done 2 of them, but they're really cool. Really
Oh
cool.
man, give me the info. Let me know next time you do
Yeah.
one.
You're on my email list, aren't you?
Yeah,
I
when
think
are they,
so.
Patty? Sorry.
Well, I don't remember. I don't want to look it up while I'm on here.
That's okay.
Email us
I'll
all.
remind you.
I don't know what the
I'll
next
remind
one
you.
is. I don't know when the next, we did, the first one was on regression because it's just such a common concept. And the second one was on parts, or no, the next one's on part. I don't know. I forget what the second one was on. It was so deep that I went deep into it and don't remember where we started with it. But this is stimulating to me. I love this. This is great. Michael, you've been pretty quiet for you.
Well, gosh, there's so many people that have so many wonderful things to say.
I know.
I'm just soaking it all in. It's great.
I want to know what time it is for Jen.
It's morning. It's morning. I see the sun has come up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you've been up all night with us,
All
haven't you?
night.
Some
Oh
7 a.m.,
wow.
almost 7 a.m.
So-
Yeah.
You get to sleep then when this is over today in a few minutes?
Well, admit, I've only done a couple of these. I did a Galaxy of the Stars, and sometimes at a certain point, it's very hard to listen to people with a hypnotic voice. So I have to admit that Jackie did kind of. My husband just goes, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh wait, the alarm is supposed to wait." So it's very hard to listen to hypnotists talk because they just.
It's hard to listen. Oh,
They put her to sleep.
That's me.
just go into hypnosis because that's the best way to learn anyway.
Well, that's what I think. I say, oh, it's going in anyway, even if I
It's
just take a
going
little
in.
right.
Yeah.
Plus, you can watch the replay later.
That's right.
Get little bits at a time.
Conscious
lives on
awareness of
forever.
this workshop is not a requirement. Right.
Oh my goodness.
You just said a magic word. When Patty, when you were talking about God earlier, the thing that I would say for me at least is it was religion that brought me here. I didn't come here looking for a career. I was doing pastoral counseling. I know I tell this story all the time. It's just simple. I was doing pastoral counseling at the time that creative visualization and Shakti Gawain and all of that stuff. And there were nuns doing things with guided imagery meditations and stuff like that. And Jean Houston had just written her book on mind games. And, so I was doing processes with people before I knew that hypnosis had anything to do with what I was doing. And I had a client one day who said, Michael, this is actually hypnosis. And it startled me. I mean, I had no idea. I don't know why I didn't make the connection. But I had spent time in the monastery. I have this history of meditative experiences being catalysts for transformation. And so doing that kind of work, Art just said the word consciousness. What I also remember is, I was reading Eastern religions, and everything was about consciousness, bliss consciousness. It was the buzz of the late 60s, 70s, and so to me, those were the things that came together and got mingled in with what I think that hypnosis is about. So I got to admit, so there are people that are a lot more scientifically oriented than me, and I get the science, and some of it I really, really appreciate, but more than anything, I really am a right-brained hypnotist, who tends to think with that spiritual felt sense and doesn't really need an explanation from the scientists about how it works. And thank God, because the explanations keep changing.
Well, that's the nature of science.
But yeah, and when I was a kid, this is the other thing. And Patty, I think you said it. I had no other way to think about this stirring that was going on within me about the vastness of vastness. There isn't the language for this, And so, when I'm 6 and I'm this little choir boy, the only metaphor that I have for this kind of thing is Christian God. And so then later, as I grew up and started looking at it in a different way, I went, oh, wait, there's so many consciousness. There's so many other ways to relate to this, and it got a whole lot bigger. But that was the catalyst for me, no question.
Yeah. Michael, were you the one that told us at one point that Jesus never promised to heal anyone?
No, I didn't tell you that.
So Jesus
I think, and respectfully, Susan, I think anybody who thinks that they know what Jesus ever said to anybody, probably trying to sell you something.
Hey,
yeah, trying to sell their
Michael,
bread. However, I just
hate
want to
to
throw this out
simplify
there
this
because
for
it
you,
relates to
Michael.
hypnosis. Jesus never promised to heal anyone, but he did promise to give them rest. And to me, hypnosis is rest.
Yeah.
So that's what's healing.
Nice.
But
I'll
Michael,
tell you what's my favorite.
I got
My
news
favorite
for you,
Jesus-
Michael. It's all in red. You know, the
Yeah,
red letter
it's-
stuff. That's
The red letters.
just look
Yeah,
it in your
that's
Bible.
what
It'll
it
tell
was.
you.
So my favorite thing about that Jesus seems to have said, if I can do the E prime model, you know,
appears.
and in somebody's, you know, in somebody's Bible, there was a book I read in the monastery called "The Gospel as Comedy, Tragedy, and Fairy Tale." It was a really interesting perspective. And the guy tells this one story about Jesus sounds like Henny Youngman in this particular story, because he goes to the pool of Siloam, and the deal with the pool is that every once in a while, every whip stitch, as they say in the Old Testament, the Spirit of God would move the waters, and when the waters moved, the first one in the pool would be healed. And what's happening at this pool is it's surrounded by a whole bunch of people on pallets that are quadriplegics, so that couldn't possibly get into the pool if the water moved in the first place. So Jesus shows up into the middle of them and says, "Do you want to be healed?" You know, it's really good shtick, because it also, I think this is an important question for our clients. Is, you know, some people have sort of a deal that has run their life, and there's an interesting question about, do you really want to be ready? Are you ready to be done with that? Do you in fact want to be healed? And I think when you can get a real positive affirmation from your clients about that, healing is going to take place. I'm preaching.
Was it, Susan, was it you that said sometime in the last couple of days something about, have you suffered enough? There was somebody said that a question they asked their clients, have you suffered enough, or have you,
All I
are
know
you
about
done with
suffering,
that, or something? I don't know.
yeah, all I know that I say is that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional.
I agree.
So there we are.
Yeah.
Is that the alarm saying 4 o'clock?
It is 4 o'clock.
It is. It is that.
Whoever's alarm was on, thank you for making me look at the clock.
Oh, my
So
mic
you
is
know
on.
what? We're going to end on time. We started, I think, a little bit late, maybe, but we did pretty well this weekend, time-wise. But, you know, time and space are irrelevant in the world of hypnosis. There's time distortion has happened all weekend, and I kind of like that. You know, I'm not, my engineer husband, you know, it's time to go to bed, it's 5:30, and I'm like, okay, someday maybe he'll, you know, he does stay up on New Year's Eve, though, so I got to give him that. Special occasions. You know. He has to take a long.
Go to
So,
1201.
Unless there's something, oh, somebody's just now coming on. I don't know why. Just in time to say goodbye.
Oh,
Just in time. We're about to say farewell here, but what?
So Patty, I just want to point out, because we are at the end of our time together, is I want to make sure that you are properly acknowledged as a final note here, that you know, we had a complicated situation to resolve, and look at what a wonderful experience that we have had.
Somebody had to make a decision fast. That's all I knew.
Well, love you and thank
Love
you.
you
Well,
too.
thank
Yeah.
you. And
Really great.
I don't know if I really want to be a final note, but thank you for that.
And on that final note,
I'd rather be the prelude, you know, be the intro or the opening act or something.
I want you to be the curtain call, Patty.
The curtain call.
Yeah.
I'll take a lot of curtain calls. So anyway, I'm just thrilled all of us. This has been beyond my expectations, and I always love that. And I'm seriously, I'm serious. Yeah, I do this for very selfish reasons because I bring people together I want to hang out with. You know, we have that choice of who we choose to hang out with. You know, sometimes we don't, but for spaces of time, and that's why we're here, so we can cope with those people, you know? Right? Hopefully, to learn some things. But I've loved this weekend. It's like I said, it exceeded my expectations, and there were people here again out of chaos, creative opportunities. And when we're with a client and something really crazy happens, if you do this for more than just a very short amount of time, crazy stuff happens, right, with your clients. I'm sure we should do a whole seminar on that, just tell our stories about crazy things that happen with clients. And you know what? You got to think on your feet. Wes Rocky, that's one of his things. And I came from show business. So improv is something you learn. If you've ever done theater, live performances, you learn how to improv. You have no choice. They're all watching out there. You have to do something and you don't have time to think. And guess what that means? That means you're in that state, that shifting state, back to shifting the paradigm. Here's what we were supposed to do. That ain't going to happen. It's not possible. So you got to instantly come up with, what can I do with what just happened? And isn't that what we help our clients do? This is what's happening. I don't know what to do with it. So we're going to help them to open up their scope of awareness and discover for them, what are the other possibilities here? What are the other opportunities? Mm-hmm. So thank you all for helping me to evolve, which is, again, selfishly why I'm here. And it's all about me. And guess what? It's all about you, and it's all about you. And it's all about, you know, even Mother Teresa, she got so much from being what people say selfless. She got amazing. And that's why she did it.
She really was self-indulgent. That's the thing.
And we should all be so self-indulgent to be that caring and to put ourselves out there for others. And that's what we all do. So thank you all. Bless you all. I'm so happy that you were all here, and let's give ourselves all a big applause.
Yay.
Until next time, watch the website. Please go to the website, talk about the conference, get other people interested that, you know, and please watch for the next Hypnosis Hangouts. When is it, Michael? In January sometime, probably? That's our little social online thing. What?
Somebody does have a hand raised. I didn't know if you wanted to see that.
Yeah. That's Tony, right? You have to unmute, honey.
There we go. Thank you so much. I am a student of Jessica. I am a newbie.
Yeah.
I come from a background of energy work, intuitive, and shamanism. And I want to thank all of you. I've never experienced this open sharing, helping one another in all my years of study. Thank you all for being so divine. Thank you.
Ooh, boy, thank you for saying that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
what a beautiful way to end this. And you all will get, remember, access to, I love rewatching these, and I'll edit a little bit. That gives me the opportunity, because, you know, the second time I hear something I didn't catch the first time, or I hear it in a different way, it's amazing. So we'll see you all soon. Keep an eye out for the next thing that we do, and hope we'll see a bunch of you in Oldsmar next, probably.
Absolutely.
What is it?
Thank
April.
you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I don't want to say goodbye. I don't want it to end.
I know.
Bye-bye.